Hi everyone, very good morning and welcome back to Crack Grade B. So today we are going to start the schemes of Ministry of Panchayati Raj. So only few of the schemes are there, right? We are going to cover this very quickly. Not much is there under Ministry of Panchayati Raj, but 2-3 schemes are there which are the schemes of importance, and hence we are going to discuss them. Fine. So with that, let's start. The first and the foremost important scheme that we have is called as Swamitwa scheme. I hope that you must have heard this particular scheme in news as well. So whenever Ministry of Panchayati Raj names come up, this is the first scheme that is very important for us. It is related to survey. So we are combining the technology in order to improve the land related things under your government, right? So the name of this particular scheme is Survey of Villages as well as the mapping with the improvised technology. First of all, it was launched in pilot phase in 9 particular states, and after that government has called for all pan India coverage from April 24th onwards. Right now, what are the objectives of this particular scheme? Objectives are very important. So first of all, the foremost objective that we have is creation of accurate land records. That is what we want to achieve by this particular scheme. Accurate land records, aiding people so that we can prepare development plans, property cards, allotment, reducing the property related disputes, determining the property tax in the Gram Panchayats, as well as installing nationwide network stations. So these are all the technology related objective that this particular scheme is having. What you have to remember is, see, adequate land records are very important for government. Why? Because they are needed for in order to assess the tax. Apart from that, even if you see in our judiciary, that means the Supreme Court or your high courts, even in the lower courts, the maximum cases are related to the land disputes, right? So it forms a huge burden on the judiciary as well to solve these kind of disputes. Hence it becomes important that we employ technology and determine the adequate land records. Fine. Budget allocation is given to you 566 crore for this particular period. A memorandum of understanding has been already signed with the 29 states and UTs. Nearly 1.2 lakh villages will be covered, correct? And the remaining villages are planned to be covered by the March 2024. Do you guys have an idea that how many total villages we have in India right now? Any idea that you guys might be having? The total number of villages in India? Just think about it, okay? So next thing is the components. What are the components under this particular scheme? Number one component is establishment of continuously operating reference stations. Reference stations means obviously when you want to employ the technology in order to do the mapping on the ground. For that you need ground control points. Ground control point means the plants or the stations from where you can process the data that you are receiving from the satellites. Okay, fund recipient is your Survey of India. Next is there will be large scale mapping using the drones. Rural inhabited Abadi area is being mapped by the Survey of India using the drone survey. These generates high resolution as well as the accurate maps to confer the ownership property rights. Next is the information education communication initiatives. So we want to sensitize the local population about it. See, property is a very disputed matter. No one wants to leave even an inch of their place, correct? So it is totally a whole lot different scenario that you are making them understand so that they can join you in this particular Swamitwa scheme. So for that it is very important that the information as well as education related activities are focused onto. The next component is the spatial planning application called as the Gram Manchitra, correct? It will be created by using the drone related survey and for creation of analytical tools for the preparation of gram panchayats development plan, GPDP. So such kind of data will be used under this particular system. There is also an online monitoring system in order to monitor this particular scheme. How's going to be the monitoring mechanism? This is going to be, this is, I hope it is visible to everyone. Is it? Is it visible to everyone? Okay, nice. See over here, monitoring mechanism. The number one, we have a national steering committee under whose chairmanship. So this is under the Secretary of Panchayati Raj for providing overall policy direction. After that, at the state level, we also have the chairmanship of your additional secretaries of your revenue or Panchayati Raj for monitoring or review of implementation. District level committees are most of the cases they are under the district magistrate. So district level committee is going to be under district collector or district deputy commissioner, district magistrate. Panchayat level monitoring committees will also be there under the chairmanship of the ward member. Online monitoring dashboard is already there and periodic evaluation will be happening of the scheme. Now there is a small information of Digi Locker app also because we want to digitalize it, right? So where it will be available to you, every person can see it in the Digi Locker app. Digi Locker app is, your property cards will be available to you in the Digi Locker app. Under Digi Locker app, this is an Aadhaar verified data. You have to fill in your information, and after that your Aadhaar card number, citizens additional data, etc., etc., other kinds of your identification related documents, everything is going to be online available in the Digi Locker app. I hope that you people have must use this particular app for your data maintenance, right? Next is Swamitwa is leveraging the technology at scale, cores as well as the drones. Let's see how. See, first of all, drones are being used along with the ground stations, right? So we are using the drones for collection of data. High quality survey grade unmanned aerial vehicles will be used. 500 to 600 drone teams are employed, right? 2000 manpower. See, this is not what you have to remember. Please get this point. This is just for the understanding that okay, Swamitwa scheme is using the drones along with the ground stations to properly process the data as well as do the mapping of data so that property cards can be issued, disputes can be resolved, as well as any, if there are any, what you can say, property related matters that can be solved at the earliest by having a data to back up that particular decision. Fine. And then creation of public infrastructure of your ground stations, that is geo positioning infrastructure, which can be used to replace the chain surveys. Now this geo positioning satellites, geostationary satellites, I hope that you must be aware of, right? Geopositionary, geostationary satellites are, they remain at a particular place in around your earth and they watch over your area. Suppose for India, we have installed many geostationary satellites, right? There are orbits, lower earth orbits, medium earth orbits. So there is a particular place at which we install the geostationary satellites and they keep an eye for a continuous basis on the our locality or our land area of India. So that particular technology is also we are going to use. Now what is the role of Gram Sabha under this particular scheme? So first of all, they have to create awareness about that particular scheme, ensuring the participation of property holders. They are going to assist in the Chuna marking activity, survey as well as physical variation. What is this Chuna marking activity? So they are just talking about the dividing the properties in between the property holders as per the mapping, as per the survey that has been conducted. Fine. Resolution of disputes at the local level. Now next scheme that we have is Rashtriya Grams Swaraj Abhiyan. So under Rashtriya Grams Swaraj Abhiyan, what we are going to do, see, anyone who becomes a sarpanch in a village, that person has become sarpanch not because of his experience, not because of his qualification, so to say. I am talking about a general thing. A person becomes a sarpanch because he is popular in the village people. Village people consider that particular person, that if any time, if any kind of problem comes, see, I am bound by the organizational policy. We have to talk in English only. So I am very sorry about it. But yes, what I can do is, sometimes if you are not able to understand any particular point, at that point I can give you the explanation in Hindi. Okay. So let's see, let's get back to the topic. Yes, Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. So I was talking that these sarpanch, why they get elected? Because not because of the qualification, not because of the experience. Sometimes people do see that as well, but most of the times what happens is that these people, they are being elected because they are popular. Village people consider that this person will be there whenever we are going to need him. So this is how they are getting selected. But at the end of the day, they have to handle the governance, they have to manage the work of panchayat. So some amount of training is required for them, right? कुछ ट्रेनिंग तो देनी पड़ेगी ना ऐसे सरपंचेस को, वरना वो कैसे गवर्नेंस चलाएंगे. So for that particular purpose, this particular scheme has been launched, Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. You are going to see that we are going to train the elected representatives over here. Fine. See, so this particular scheme was launched in 2016, and now Cabinet has approved the revamped centrally sponsored scheme for the period of starting with 2022 till 2026. What we are going to achieve in this particular scheme is, this is very important, we have to remember this. So what is this? Basic orientation training for the elected representatives of the panchayats within 6 months of their election, because we want to train them in the government's work. After that, refresher trainings will be ensured within 2 years. Capacity building of the elected representatives with priority to the aspirational districts as the Mission Antyodaya clusters. So we want to develop them, we want to provide them the training so that they can handle the Panchayati Raj institutions very well, and strengthening the Panchayat SHG partnership. At every government scheme, there is a component of SHG, because government thinks that this is an important thing to give focus on. So therefore, SHGs will be given focus over here as well. Now there are some activities. We are just going to quickly see that what is being so when I say capacity building, what do I mean by that? These are the answers. Fine. So capacity building training, Gram Panchayat infrastructure, how to use IT for distance learning, institutional supports for the innovations, technical support like human resource based on identified gaps, provisions of adequate manpower at the Gram Panchayat. I hope you must have seen the series of Panchayat, right? Have you seen that? There are apart from the comedy as well as the real life situations, they have also depicted that what kind of work is being performed at the panchayat level, what kind of work needs to be performed, right? And how a sarpanch has to coordinate with their local area MLAs, etc., in order to get their work done. Fine. Apart from that, there was a secretary also that was provided, fine, to do the panchayat related work. Understanding my point? So this is what we are talking over here. Do you remember that they had a computer monitor, right? That was installed in their office and that got stolen. So these are the things, that computer was provided, that monitor was provided so that they can perform their work through IT related services. But At the same time, technical related trainings are also provided to them. Fine. After that, greater enablement of the panchayats for e-governance, with thrust on the Panchayati enterprise application developed by the ministry to facilitate the EFT, electronic fund transfer, PFMS use and geotagging of the assets. So these are all the things. For that, we are going to train our representatives or the elected representatives. We want that they should be trained in it. They should be able to take all of these activities with ease. Like for here, what we want to do. So in India right now, the focus is on e-governance. E-governance means providing the facilities of government to the consumer electronically. And in order to do that, your elected representatives should know that how to operate. Correct? So all of these things are very important. Now the funding pattern, how is going to be your funding pattern? It is going to be in the ratio of 60 to 40 for other states. For northeastern states, hilly states as UT of J&K, it is going to be 90:10, and for other UTs, it is going to be 100%. Now, what should be the financial implication? So, this is the total financial implication of 5,911 crores. Out of that, central share is 3,700 crores. Fine. Now, what is the institutional mechanism? How it is going to be implemented? So, remember that for State Advisory Committee, we have Minister of Panchayati Raj. State Steering Committee, Chief Secretary, we have State Executive Committee, Secretary, Panchayati Raj Department, right? This is how we are going to do. And lastly, we have Program Management Unit. What is the difference between State Advisory, State Steering and State Executive Committee? So, State Advisory Committee means they are just going to give the advice or how the scheme should be formulated, what can be included, what cannot be included. State Steering Committee means they are actually going to see that how program is getting implemented. They are just going to see it. Fine. And lastly, the actual implementation rests on the State Executive Committee. They have to perform the actual implementation of the scheme. This is the difference. Now, there have been the cost norms which has been provided for the admissible activities. We are going to see the cost norms for the important things. First of all, this is the unit cost of per participant per day for the training of elected representatives, right? Training at the state level, 2,500 per participant per day. Training at the district level, what is the amount you are going to give? 1,500 per participant per day. If you are going to train the persons at the block level, then the amount that is going to be given is 1,000 rupees per participant per day. Fine. After that, this is the hand-holding support for the development plan formulation by academic institutions, NGOs, etc. 20,000 rupees per gram panchayat. For that, 20,000 rupees will be provided. If these two are also important, development of training modules. You want to train your elected representative. Suppose any kind of training that you might have got in your lifetime, right? So you must have seen that there is a fixed training module, right? What needs to be studied, what will be the content, right? How the elected representatives are going to be trained, what exercises needs to be performed by them. So for all of this, a plan creation is important. And if module development is done by any particular agency, then up to 10 lakh rupees once in 2 years as per the state and UTs. If electronic materials are going to be made, in that particular case, up to 20 lakh rupees can be spent once in 2 years. So this is the case over here. Next thing that is important is Panchayat learning centers. So for developing the Panchayat learning centers, this particular thing can be spent up to rupees 7 lakhs. So please focus on the amounts which are large in nature, right? So those particular amounts you can remember that, okay, this amount is the limit for to spend under this particular yojana. Fine. So we have understood the intent of the scheme. We have also understood that where we are going to spend the amount. So the scheme was a small scheme. The rest of the things you can skip, but the one more thing is the SPRC related building that you can have once a look of, and the topic which is important now that we are going to study is the Panchayat extension to the Scheduled Areas Act 1996. So first let me tell you, uh, in certain areas of our country, the tribal population is quite high, fine, and whatever laws and regulations that are applicable to us, we cannot apply them as it is towards the tribal population. You might have seen in the movies and as well as various depictions that the living culture of the tribal people is totally different. Just assume the living culture. Have you seen the movie Avatar? I know that all of you must have. So in that particular movie, if you have seen that the kind of living tribal people they do, that is totally different from the normal living that we people do, correct? So they are technology deficient, they are not having that enough technology, they are not very socially developed as well. Now I am not saying the tribal groups are changing, they are changing as per the norms of society, but still there are some tribal groups which are still doing as it is. So in order to protect those tribal groups identity as well as the way of living, we have came up with this particular act called PESA. So what is the mandate of this act? This act says that whatever rules as well as regulations, acts which are made in the state, they can be applied to the tribal area but with the modification, right? I repeat, they can be applied to the tribal area but with modification in order to suit their lifestyle, in order to not to harm their social harmony. Fine. So the act came in the 1996 in 10 states which are having our country's predominant tribal population. The states are Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan and Telangana. Fine, these are the states which are having the predominant tribal areas. Now what we are going to do under this particular act is, we are extending the provisions of part 9 of the constitution related to the panchayats to scheduled areas but with certain modifications. We want that the Panchayati Raj related provisions should be extended to tribal areas, but they cannot be extended as it is. They cannot be implemented as it is. There needs to be certain differentiation between the tribal population and the other population. Fine. To have the village governance with participatory democracy, to evolve a suitable administrative framework and to safeguard the customs of the tribal communities. Basically only this one and this one is the main objectives, to provide the self rule to the tribals. You must have seen that the tribal people, they are very they love freedom, they do not want to be ruled, right? So for them we have made this particular kind of arrangement. Let's see. And one more thing which is important is the committee's name. This act was enacted after the Bhuria committee's report. They have told us to do like this, that you can extend the provisions of Panchayati Raj but with certain modifications to Schedule 5 areas. Now in our country, if you must be knowing about constitution even a little bit, there are two schedules, Schedule 5 and Schedule 6, right? Both are for the tribes, scheduled tribes. Schedule 6 area, there are 4 states that come under that, AMTM we call them as, fine. That is your Assam, Tripura, Mizoram, like that. And in the Schedule 5 we have got other tribal areas which are in the other states. So Schedule 6 areas, you are going to see these 4 states in the northeast, fine. and the rest of the states which are there in rest of the country, they have been covered under the Schedule 5. I hope that is fine. Now next see what are the salient features of this particular act. So state legislations which are governing the panchayat in scheduled areas, it must be consistent with the customary laws of the tribals. Powers are also given to the Gram Sabha. What kind of powers has been given? So every village is going to have its own Gram Sabha. A village shall consist of one or more the habitations or the hamlets. Fine. Gram Sabha is competent. What kind of powers do they have? For traditions and customs, they have to safeguard it, community resources, as well as the dispute resolution. In tribes area, they have their indigenous dispute resolution system. In most of the cases, they do not involve the outsiders. They love to solve their problems on their own. Fine. If you are going to relate this with the movie Avatar, you might be able to visualize this, that how do they solve disputes whenever any kind of dispute occurs in their society. Fine. Now there are some mandatory executive functions of the Gram Sabha, like approving the plans, identifying the beneficiaries under poverty alleviation program, issuing a certificate of utilization of funds by the panchayat. Next, some powers which are exclusive with the Gram Sabha, these are right to mandatory consultation in land acquisition. If government wants to acquire any tribes related land, then they have to consult the Gram Sabha. This is mandatory. Remember this provision, this is an important one. Panchayats at appropriate level, they are entrusted with the planning and management of the minor water works, and after that mandatory recommendation is given by the Gram Sabha for prospecting licenses, mining leases, as well as any kind of concessions for the minor minerals. These kind of rights, they are left with the Gram Sabha. If the government has to do any kind of mining in the scheduled area, schedule 5 areas, then the permission has to be taken from the Gram Sabha. Now what are the other powers? They can regulate the sale and consumption of intoxicants like your alcohol, etc. Ownership of minor forest produce is with the Gram Sabha, managing village markets, controlling money lending to the scheduled tribes, because this generates a spiral effect, right? So someone gives the money to scheduled tribe people, they are not very educated, and then they fall into the debt trap. So in order to protect that, such kind of rights have also been provided to the Gram Sabha. All seats of panchayat chairpersons at all levels are reserved for the scheduled tribes. Nobody else can become the panchayat chairperson in the scheduled 5 areas, and in every panchayat, reservation for scheduled type must not be less than half of the total number of seats. At least 50% of seats in such kind of scheduled 5 areas panchayat has to be reserved for the scheduled tribes people. And next, we have Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. Now, what is the difference between this as well as the Swamitwa scheme? So, under Swamitwa scheme, what we are doing is we are doing the mapping, doing the execution related work through the drones as well as the ground control stations. We are doing the mapping, we are trying to make the records, we are trying to divide the lands between their respective owners. We are trying to create a boundary. So that is a electronic kind of work, that is a digital kind of work. And over here, so there are land records that are existing with the governments, but they are in the paper format. What we want to do over here, we want to digitalize them, right? So that the land records can be accessed within no time, and there is ease of maintenance of land records. So let's see. Earlier, there were two centrally sponsored schemes, computerization of land records and strengthening of the revenue administration. After that, they have been came up under one particular scheme named as the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program. What we want to do over here, we want to computerize the land records through survey, Computerization of registration. What kind of survey it is? It is not a drone related survey. That is covered in the Swamitwa scheme. Fine. Under this, we want that there should be automatic land records maintenance. Apart from that, interconnectivity between revenue and registration, so that the present deeds registration and presumptive title system can be replaced. Implementation, how it is going to be implementation? So district has been made a unit of implementation. Apart from that, it is the target of us that entire country's land records will be digitalized by the financial year of 2023 and 24. The number one component which is under this particular scheme is National Generic Document Registration System, that is one nation, one software. What we are going to do? We are going to register the documents of the properties under this particular system. Fine. What are the benefits over here? The benefits is that there will be reduction in the land disputes, there will be check on the fraudulent transactions, and there will be SMS related alerts on transactions of property. If someone is doing any kind of transaction based on your property papers, then you will be alerted. Owner will be alerted for this. And this is the intention of the National Generic Document Registration System. Fine. And lastly, we have a unique land parcel identification number. This is a 14 digit. Just like individuals have been assigned PAN numbers, in similar fashion, the land is also being assigned a number that we call it as a unique land parcel identification. It is a 14 digit alphanumeric unique ID for each land parcel. And how it is based? It is based on the georeference number. Georeference number means you might have seen the coordinates. Whenever we open a map or whenever we send our location to someone, you might have seen that there are coordinates mentioned. So on the basis of those coordinates, such number will be generated. Fine. And it will provide compatibility so that all states can adopt it easily and help develop the land bank. Fine. So this is what we wanted to discuss under the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. This was the shortest scheme, shortest ministry. So I hope that you must have understood. There are only four schemes under this, 4 initiatives under this, and I hope that you will be able to remember them. So please do not forget to like this video, and thank you so much.